Changwon was modelled after Canberra in Australia for some reason. But I think they might have it beat when it comes to sports venues. Just. So without further comparisons with Canberra, here are the stadiums and arenas of Changwon, South Korea. Changwon Football Centre Stadium. After the 2002 World Cup, there was a bit of money left over to spend on football infrastructure in cities that weren't fortunate enough to host any games. Changwon, for instance. This ground was partially funded by those surplus funds. It is the largest rectangular stadium in the city, yet not even close to being the largest stadium overall. The two biggest football clubs in the city clearly don't mind the smaller capacity, as they've played here since 2010. And yeah, it does seem like a rather nice, albeit simple football stadium. I guess its main shortfall is the fact that most of the seating is uncovered. But that does allow for panoramic views of the high-rises and nature's high-rises, also known as mountains. Also quite like the pattern there on the seating. Changwon Civic Stadium is where Gyeongnam FC played before the football centre was built, and where Changwon FC play some of their games. They are a third-tier club, and the rent is presumably cheaper at this old stadium. The ground gets referred to as Orange Stadium by the locals, or the Korean words for Orange Stadium, and there is a little bit of orange here and there. I guess partially Orange Stadium isn't a good name, but neither is Orange Stadium really. There are a ton of stadiums in the country that look almost identical to this. I think the government architects did a lot of Control-C, Control-V back in the day. Or I guess the 1980s equivalent would have been photocopying? Maybe they should paint the bare concrete exterior orange. Not only would it become distinct from the rest, but the nickname Orange Stadium would be more accurate. Also, people walking on the street are less likely to bump into it. I hate when that happens. Next door to the biggest stadium in town is the biggest arena in town, Changwon Gymnasium. It's home to a basketball club named after LG. They've owned the club so long that originally it was known as Gold Star Basketball. The company was originally known as Lucky Gold Star, hence LG. Did you know they were responsible for the first Korean-made radio? It was called the A501. You see, normal people watch movies or TV in their downtime. I read random Wikipedia articles. You might start off with the history of Kyrgyzstan and end up learning about the different kinds of flatbread that exist in the world. Interestingly, underneath the court is a court, one used for badminton. Basement badminton. Basement badminton sounds like some sort of euphemism for, well, never mind. It's a decent all-round arena, I suppose. Remember the 2003 Asian Cycling Championships? Me neither. But it took place next door at Changwon Velodrome, which would have to be one of the more impressive velodromes going around. Especially considering that most of the velodromes we've seen in these Korean videos have been outdoor ones. The capacity of 14,000 is nothing to be scoffed at either. I can't imagine that it's been maxed out too often since the championships though, but who knows? Maybe cycling is particularly popular in Changwon. It does have the highest amount of bike lanes in the country, leading the local government to refer to the city as a mecca of bicycles. The mecca of bicycles, so all the cyclists around the world must pray in the direction of Changwon. At least the practicing cyclists. Changwon NC Park. From afar, this ballpark looks somewhat similar to Samsung Lions Park, which we saw in the Daegu video. Except I think I slightly prefer this one. It also has a couple of claims to fame, even if they are a bit tenuous. It was the first ballpark in Korea with an open concourse, that is accessed via a gentle sloping walkway from street level, which is particularly useful for people in wheelchairs. There are no stairs in sight. Also, the seats are closer to the field than at any other Korean ballpark. Even the nosebleeds are close to the field as the multiple tiers of seating are basically hovering above one another. I also like how it sort of comes to a point at the ends. Looks sharp. In the outfield, it's grass terracing in the left, regular seats in the right. The architects initially intended for there to be a rooftop garden here. And, well, there's some sort of plant life up there, but I wouldn't call it gardens. This video board may not be as big as some others in the KBO League, but it's double-sided, although it's not actually a proper screen on the other side, just thousands of LED panels. This seems like a great modern ballpark. Next door is Masan Baseball Stadium, the old home of the Dinos, and current home of the Dinos Futures team. We covered past, present, and future tense in that sentence. It's not uncommon for a club to build a new stadium right next to their old one, but usually the old one gets demolished. All that remains might be a little plaque in the car park, signifying where home base was. But there are currently no plans to bring in the wrecking balls here. There was actually a track and field stadium that was knocked down to make way for the new ballpark, which seems like an odd choice, but I guess they needed all the room they could get, and no longer needed an athletic stadium. Not only is the architecture dated, but there's also a keyhole path, which is a feature that was a mainstay back in the day, less so today. Next door is Masan Gymnasium. Masan, by the way, is the name of the area in which this sports complex is located. It used to be its own independent city, but with the rise of Korean industry, 3 cities in the area merged into one big metropolis. Anyway, I was kinda expecting a plain and simple interior, but I actually quite like this one. The colour scheme of the roof, and to a lesser extent the walls, remind me of that Emerald City from Wizard of Oz. It's nice and steeply stacked seating as well. As you can see, this place was home to a team called BNK Sum, but they've since moved to Busan. I feel like we've said that in a lot of these videos, teams moving to Busan. So there you have it. Time to pick a favourite. It's got to be Changwon NC Park, which is probably the only stadium in the city that could be accurately described as world class. Subscribe if you like stadiums of the Korean and non-Korean variety. I'm Sabnida for watching, have a good one.